The stars scattered across the endless black like dropped jewels. The mighty Imperial warship Dominator glided silently through the vacuum, its silver surface shining. On the command deck, Admiral Tol stood rigid, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light from the panels around him. "How long until we reach Earth?" he asked, the alien word sounding rough in his mouth. 3 hours, sir," Commander Mox replied, touching a glowing screen. "Scout ships entered their solar system already. They barely have any defenses to worry about." Admiral Tol nodded, narrowing his yellow eyes. The Emperor had sent him on many first contact missions before. This one seemed like a waste of his talents. Humans had barely reached their own moon. Their technology was crude and their planet was split into warring nations. They would submit easily. "Set up the standard intimidation formation," the Admiral commanded. "Let's show these primitives what real space power looks like." 20 warships moved into position behind the Dominator, each one capable of destroying an entire city from space. This display had worked countless times before. It would work again. As the Imperial fleet approached Earth, unusual activity appeared on the sensors. The humans had spotted them and were sending their own ships, tiny, clumsy things powered by burning fuel. Commander Mox almost laughed watching them on the screen. "Look at those primitive vessels," he sneered. "Chemical engines. How haven't they destroyed themselves yet?" "We were all primitive once, Commander," Admiral Tol reminded him with a slight smile. "Open the communication channel. Let's see if they can at least speak properly." The screen flickered. A human face appeared. General Tom, leader of Earth's defense forces. His expression was calm, which surprised the Admiral. Most species showed fear at first sight of the Imperial fleet. "Unknown vessels, identify yourselves," General Tom said firmly. "This is restricted space." Admiral Tol stepped forward, raising himself to his full height. "I am Admiral Tol of the Galactic Empire. The Emperor of 1,000 worlds has taken notice of your planet. You have the chance to join our glorious empire as a protected territory." General Tom didn't blink. "And if we refuse?" The Admiral paused. This response was unexpected. Most species begged to join after seeing his fleet. "Then we would demonstrate the benefits of our protection," Admiral Tol said, his voice turning cold. "This galaxy has many dangers. It would be unfortunate if you faced them alone." General Tom nodded slowly. "Let me be clear, Admiral. Earth will not become anyone's territory. We welcome peace with other civilizations, but we will protect our independence." Commander Mox laughed loudly. "Defend with what? Those metal cans you call ships?" General Tom's eyes hardened. "We may not have your advanced technology, Admiral, but humans have something your empire seems to lack: respect for others. Reconsider your approach." The communication ended. For a moment, Admiral Tol felt something unusual: unease. These humans were either very brave or foolish. They had cut the transmission. "The primitives dare disrespect the Empire," Commander Mox exclaimed. "Send a scout ship to their orbit," Admiral Tol ordered. "Let's see how they react to a closer look at our power." One of the smaller Imperial ships broke away and moved toward Earth's orbit where stations and satellites floated. Soon the sensors showed activity from below. "The humans are launching something," reported the sensor officer. "A small vessel. Primitive design but moving fast." On screen, they watched a human ship approach their scout vessel. It was small, maybe 1/10 the size of the Imperial Scout, with a boxy shape that looked hastily built. "Are they attacking us?" laughed Commander Mox. But Admiral Tol wasn't laughing. Something felt wrong. "Keep our distance," he ordered. Too late. The human vessel suddenly accelerated with surprising speed and attached itself to the Imperial ship's hull. Before anyone could react, a bright flash filled the screen. When it cleared, the Imperial scout ship was drifting, systems dead. The human vessel detached and raced back to Earth. "Impossible," shouted Commander Mox. "They disabled an Imperial ship." Analysis. "What happened?" Admiral Tol demanded. "An electromagnetic pulse weapon, sir," the science officer reported. "Simple technology, but well used. Our systems are rebooting now." Admiral Tol felt cold inside. No newly discovered species had ever damaged an Imperial vessel during first contact. It had never happened. A new transmission arrived. General Tom's face appeared again. "That was a warning, Admiral. We prefer peace, but we are prepared to fight. Leave our solar system in the next day or face the consequences." The transmission ended. Admiral Tol stood in stunned silence. These humans showed no fear. They had fought back and won. "Recall all ships," he finally ordered. We need to report this to the Emperor. These humans are different. As the Imperial fleet pulled back, Admiral Tol stared at the blue planet on the screen. For the first time in his long career, he felt uncertain. 3 months had passed since that embarrassing first contact. Now Admiral Tol stood before Emperor Dra in the vast council chamber, explaining what happened. Again, Emperor Dra's massive form dominated the throne. His skin pulsed with patterns of light that showed his irritation. "You're certain their technology was primitive?" the Emperor asked. "Yes, Emperor. Chemical rockets and crude computers. Their disabling of our scout ship was likely just luck," Admiral Tol replied, though doubt gnawed at him. Emperor Dra's eyes narrowed. "We will send a proper force. Show them what defying the Empire means." Before the Admiral could respond, a junior officer burst through the doors, breaking all protocol. He dropped to his knees, gasping, "Forgive me, Emperor. Long-range sensors detected something entering our controlled space in Sector 7. "What is it?" demanded the Emperor. "A human ship, sir." Laughter rippled through the chamber. One small human ship hardly posed a threat. "Why interrupt the council for this?" The officer trembled. "Sir, the ship is massive, nearly the size of our largest battlecruiser, and the energy readings are off the charts." The laughter died instantly. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Tol. They were still learning about their own moon. Emperor Dra stood from his throne. "Captain Ven." A tall figure with metallic implants covering half his face stepped from the shadows. Throughout the Empire, Captain Ven was known as their finest strategist, his artificial enhancements making his mind work at incredible speeds. "Take your battle group to intercept this human vessel," the Emperor commanded. "Find out if it's really from Earth and how they built something so advanced." Captain Ven bowed. "As you command, Emperor." The Imperial battle group dropped from faster-than-light travel near Sector 7. 5 sleek warships arranged themselves in attack formation, weapons armed and ready. On the lead ship's bridge, Captain Ven studied the sensors with both his organic eye and his mechanical one, processing information at incredible speeds. "There," his second officer said quietly, pointing to a blip on the display. Captain Ven zoomed in. His breath caught. The ship was unlike anything in the Imperial database, massive, nearly as large as their largest battlecruiser, but built completely differently. Where Imperial ships were sleek and graceful, this vessel was thick, blocky, overbuilt with heavy armor and what appeared to be multiple backup systems. "That can't be a human warship," Captain Ven whispered. "Is that even possible?" "They're hailing us," reported the communications officer. "Put them on screen," ordered Captain Ven, straightening his uniform. A human face appeared. Simple dark uniform, minimal decoration. "This is Captain Jack of the Earth vessel Defiance. We come in peace and request diplomatic talks with the Galactic Empire." Captain Ven studied him carefully. "This is Captain Ven of the Imperial Defense Fleet. Your ship's power output exceeds our intelligence reports on human technology." "Explain." Captain Jack smiled slightly. "Captain, we've been watching the stars for centuries. Did you really think we would show everything to the first aliens who arrived? You mean you've been hiding this level of advancement the whole time?" Captain Ven asked, stunned. "Not hiding. Just not showing. Your Admiral Tol didn't make a great first impression." Captain Ven's tactical mind raced. If the humans had deceived them about their technology, what else had they hidden? "Sir," whispered his science officer urgently, "their power source appears to use controlled fusion, but using principles our scientists said were theoretically impossible to maintain." Captain Ven kept his face neutral. "Captain Jack, the Emperor has authorized me to conduct preliminary negotiations. Would you join me aboard my vessel?" "I'd be delighted," replied Captain Jack. "But I should bring a small security team for diplomatic purposes. We'll prepare a shuttle bay," said Captain Ven. When Captain Jack boarded with 3 human officers, they showed no signs of intimidation at the Imperial technology surrounding them. "Your ship is remarkable," Captain Ven began, gesturing for them to sit. "Our scientists want to know about your power source." "Standard fusion technology," Captain Jack nodded. "We've worked on it for centuries." "But the containment field you're using shouldn't be possible," protested the Imperial science officer. "The energy required would exceed the output." A woman with short gray hair smiled. "That would be true if you approached it from an energy containment angle. We approached it from a material science angle instead." "Material science?" Captain Viven repeated, confused. While you developed energy fields to contain plasma, we developed materials that could physically hold it, Captain Jack explained. Different path, same result. Captain Venn felt a chill. The Empire had always focused on energy manipulation, viewing physical materials as primitive. Had they been wrong? What about weapons? He asked carefully. We prefer not to discuss those unless necessary, replied Captain Jack. We're here to talk peace, not war. Of course. But you must understand our concern. 3 months ago, you were barely reaching your moon. Now you arrive in a warship rivaling our best vessels. As I said, we've been watching the stars for a long time. We knew we weren't alone, so we prepared. When your admiral arrived making threats, we simply accelerated our timeline. Suddenly, Captain Venn's communication device buzzed. He stepped away to take the message privately. Sir, came the urgent voice of his sensor officer. The human vessel has activated weapon systems. Captain Venn glanced back at the humans, who waited calmly with no sign of hostility. Are they targeting us? He whispered. No, sir. But the energy output is enormous. Whatever they're powering could disable our entire battle group. Captain Venn returned to the table, his face composed. Captain Jack, our sensors show you've activated weapons. Why lead a precaution, Captain? Your Emperor has sent another fleet to this location. They'll arrive within the hour. We wanted to be prepared in case diplomacy fails. Captain Venn felt his heart racing. How had the humans detected the reinforcements? More troubling, how had they built such advanced detection technology? There's no need for weapons, he said, trying to steady his voice. The Emperor simply wants these talks to proceed smoothly. Then we'll continue, said Captain Jack with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Now about establishing formal diplomatic relations between Earth and your empire. As the talks continued, Captain Venn couldn't shake the feeling that everything the Empire believed about humans was wrong. And that terrified him more than any weapon. The Grand Imperial Council chamber fell silent as Captain Venn finished his report about the Defiance. Even Emperor Dra seemed shaken, his bioluminescent patterns flickering erratically. Let me understand, the Emperor said slowly. These humans have achieved controlled fusion using physical material containment rather than energy fields? Captain Venn nodded. Yes, Emperor. And that's just the beginning. Their entire approach to technology is fundamentally different. Different how? Asked Admiral Tol, his scales now pale yellow from stress. Where we pursue elegant solutions with minimal parts, they build redundant, over-engineered systems, Captain Venn explained. Where we refine and perfect, they build and rebuild. Most importantly, they've chosen technological paths we abandoned centuries ago, believing them inefficient. The council chamber erupted with murmurs. The Empire had always prided itself on elegant solutions, systems that worked with perfect efficiency and minimal waste. The idea that a species would deliberately choose a different path seemed almost insulting. Emperor Dra raised a hand for silence. Bring in the human delegates. I want to hear from them directly. Minutes later, Captain Jack and his team entered the chamber. They showed no signs of intimidation despite being surrounded by the Empire's most powerful leaders. Captain Jack of Earth, the Emperor's voice boomed. Your ship has stirred quite a reaction among my advisors. We're curious about your technology. Captain Jack bowed slightly. We're happy to explain, Emperor. Though I should mention I'm a soldier, not a scientist. Dr. Anna is better suited to answer technical questions. The woman with gray hair stepped forward. Perhaps I can clarify some things. When we detected your scout ships months ago, we realized we needed to accelerate our plans. You knew we were coming? Admiral Tol asked, surprised. We've been watching the stars for centuries. Our telescopes detected your ships long before you entered our system. Impossible, snorted the Imperial Science Advisor. Your technology couldn't possibly. While our space travel technology was limited, our observation equipment is quite advanced, Dr. Anna interrupted politely. We've been studying the universe from our planet's surface for hundreds of years. She tapped a device on her wrist and a holographic display appeared, showing the Defiance's internal workings. The core difference in our approach is this, she explained. Your empire builds ships like fine jewelry, precise, elegant, minimal. We build ships like fortresses, redundant, strong, over-engineered. The hologram zoomed to the power core. Take our fusion reactor. You contain plasma with energy fields, which is elegant but fragile. We contain it with layers of specially developed materials that can physically withstand the heat and Pressure. That's so inefficient, protested the science advisor. Inefficient but reliable, countered Dr. Anna. If your energy field fails, your reactor fails. If one of our containment layers fails, we have 5 more backups. Emperor Dra leaned forward, genuinely interested. This philosophy extends to all your systems? Yes, said Captain Jack, stepping forward. Our ships don't have one main computer. They have dozens of smaller ones that take over if others fail. We don't have one power grid. We have 6 separate ones. It's not elegant, but it's very hard to destroy. The hologram shifted to show weapon systems, and the council grew noticeably tense. As for our weapons, Captain Jack continued, we focused on kinetic energy rather than energy beams. Basic physics, mass times speed. We fire small projectiles at nearly the speed of light. Primitive ballistic weapons, scoffed Commander Mox, who had been silent until now. Primitive concept. Advanced execution, corrected Captain Jack. Each projectile weighs just a few grams, but at near light speed. It carries enough energy to disable a ship your size. The room went silent as the implications sank in. Such weapons would bypass the Empire's sophisticated energy shields, which were designed to stop energy attacks, not physical objects. Why reveal all this to us? Emperor Dra finally asked. Surely this gives away your tactical advantages. Because we want peace, not war, replied Captain Jack seriously. The Defiance is a deterrent, not an invasion force. Dr. Anna added, we've watched your empire expand for decades. We saw how you absorbed other species, sometimes peacefully, sometimes by force. We decided it would be better to negotiate from a position of strength. Emperor Dra's patterns pulsed rapidly, a sign of deep thought. And if we declined peaceful relations? If we decided your technology was a threat? Captain Jack's voice stayed calm, but his eyes hardened. The Defiance isn't our only ship, Emperor. It's just the first one we revealed. The weight of that statement hung in the air. Admiral Tol's face showed shock. You're bluffing. Our scans detected no other ships like this in your system. Because they're not in our system, replied Captain Jack. After your first visit, we spread out our fleet. Standard human military strategy. Never gather all your forces in one place. A junior officer rushed in, breaking protocol for the second time. He whispered urgently to Admiral Tol, whose scales went even paler. Emperor, Admiral Tol said shakily, long-range sensors have detected energy signatures matching the Defiances in 7 different sectors of our space. Emperor Dra stood abruptly, towering over everyone. Is this an invasion? No, Emperor, replied Captain Jack calmly. It's insurance. Those ships have orders to hold position unless Earth is attacked. They're observers only. For the first time in his long reign, Emperor Dra felt truly uncertain. The humans had not only developed technology the Empire had abandoned, but they had deployed it throughout Imperial space without being detected. I believe, the Emperor said slowly, we should continue these talks in a more formal setting. Perhaps a treaty between our peoples would be wise. Captain Jack nodded. That's why we came, Emperor. Not to threaten, but to build understanding. Humanity wants to join the galactic community as equals, not subjects. As the humans were escorted out, Admiral Tol approached the Emperor. They can't possibly have the resources to build a whole fleet of ships like the Defiance, he whispered. It must be a bluff. Emperor Dra watched the humans leave, noting their confident stride and relaxed posture. Are you willing to risk the Empire to find out, Admiral? Because I am not. These humans are not primitive. They're dangerously innovative, and I fear we've awakened something we don't fully understand. Outside the chamber, Captain Jack and Dr. Anna exchanged a subtle glance. Their gamble had worked. The Empire would negotiate now, not knowing that the Defiance was their only completed warship. The other ships were just engine cores broadcasting similar signatures, a trick Earth's military had used for centuries to appear stronger than they were. But if talks succeeded, they wouldn't need that trick much longer. The real fleet was already under construction back home. The Imperial war room buzzed with activity as Admiral Tol paced nervously. Before a massive holographic display showing the Defiance, holding its position, Emperor Dra entered, his patterns pulsing deep red, a sign of anger. The diplomatic talks have failed, he announced. The humans refuse to accept Imperial oversight. They demand recognition as an independent power. Admiral Tol bowed low. What are your orders, Emperor? Deploy the Imperial Armada. Show these upstart humans the true power of our empire. 20 battlecruisers should be enough to destroy one ship. no matter how unusual its technology. Captain Ven, who stood quietly in the corner, stepped forward. With respect, Emperor, I believe we should reconsider. The humans have demonstrated capabilities we don't fully understand. Emperor Draw turned his massive head toward Captain Ven. Are you suggesting we allow a primitive species to dictate terms to the Empire? That we show weakness? Not weakness, caution, Captain Ven replied. At least until we better understand their technology. Your caution is noted, Captain, the Emperor said coldly. But the decision is made. Admiral Tol will lead the attack personally. As the Emperor left, Captain Ven approached Admiral Tol. Be careful, Admiral. Don't underestimate them again. Admiral Tol's scales flickered with annoyance. 1 ship against 20 of our finest battle cruisers. The odds are in our favor, regardless of their technology. Hours later, Admiral Tol stood on the bridge of the flagship Conqueror, leading the most impressive battle formation the Empire had assembled in decades. 20 sleek, deadly battlecruisers arranged perfectly, energy weapons charged, shields at maximum. Before them floated the Defiance, alone and seemingly defenseless. Its blocky, overbuilt design looked crude next to the elegant Imperial vessels. Open communication channels, ordered Admiral Tol. Captain Jack's face appeared on screen, remarkably calm for someone facing such odds. Captain Jack, this is your final chance to surrender and submit to Imperial authority, Admiral Tol declared. Your ship is impressive, but it cannot stand against the Imperial Armada. Admiral, we came seeking peace, replied Captain Jack with a slight smile. You chose war. What happens next is on your conscience. You threaten us with a single ship, laughed Admiral Tol. Not confidence mathematics, replied Captain Jack. You still don't understand what you're facing. But you will. The transmission ended. Prepare all weapons, Admiral Tol ordered. Target their propulsion systems. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. The 20 Imperial battlecruisers moved into attack position, surrounding the Defiance. On the Admiral's command, they fired simultaneously, their energy weapons creating a beautiful but deadly light show. To everyone's shock, the energy beams seemed to bend around the human vessel as if sliding off an invisible surface. What happened? Demanded Admiral Tol. Sir, they appear to have some sort of gravitational shield, stammered the weapons officer. It's bending our energy weapons away. Impossible, hissed Admiral Tol. No shield technology can— Sir! The human ship is powering up its weapons, interrupted the sensor officer. Panels slid open along the Defiance's hull, revealing what looked like primitive gun barrels. They're using projectile weapons in space? Scoffed Admiral Tol. How primitive. The sensor officer's voice shook. Sir, those aren't ordinary projectiles. They're accelerating to near light speed. The energy readings are off the charts. Before the Admiral could respond, the Defiance fired. There was no beam of light. No visible energy discharge, just a silent, invisible attack that tore through one of their most advanced battle cruisers. Its shields, designed to stop energy weapons, offered no protection against physical objects moving at such speeds. Evasive maneuvers, shouted Admiral Tol, his composure finally breaking. All ships scatter! But the Defiance was already firing again and again, each shot precisely targeted and devastatingly effective. Imperial battle cruisers, the pride of their fleet, were being disabled one after another by technology the Empire had dismissed as inefficient centuries ago. Sir, we've lost 6 ships already, reported the communications officer.
3 completely destroyed, 3 disabled. How?
Demanded Admiral Tol. How can 1 ship do this? The science officer looked up from his console, pale. Their firing solution is perfect, sir. They've calculated the exact point to hit each ship to disable its primary systems, and their rate of fire is beyond anything we've ever seen. On the main screen, they watched as the Defiance targeted another Imperial vessel. A small metal projectile no bigger than a finger, fired at near light speed. Its kinetic energy was enormous, punching through the Imperial ship's hull like paper. Sir, they're hailing us, said the communications officer. Captain Jack's face appeared again, now serious. Admiral Tol, you've lost 9 ships. None of your weapons can penetrate our gravitational shields. Please stop this before more lives are lost. Admiral Tol stared in disbelief. Half his fleet disabled or destroyed in less than 10 minutes without the human ship taking a single hit. What are you? He whispered. Just humans, Admiral, replied Captain Jack. We simply took a different path. While you perfected energy weapons, we focused on kinetics. While you built elegant single-core computers, we built redundant networks. While you refined minimal designs, we overbuilt everything. Another Imperial battlecruiser exploded silently in the background. Our shields aren't energy fields trying to stop your weapons, Captain Jack continued. They're gravitational lenses bending space itself to redirect your attacks. Different approach, better results. Admiral Tol felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: fear. The Empire had always believed its technology was the peak of advancement, that elegant solutions were inherently superior. Now, facing the brutal effectiveness of human engineering, he was no longer certain. "Stand down all weapons," he finally ordered, his voice barely audible. "All ships, cease fire." A collective gasp went through the bridge. Never in living memory had an Imperial fleet retreated from battle. "Sir?" questioned the weapons officer uncertainly. "You heard me," Admiral Tol said more firmly. "We cannot win this fight, not today." He turned back to the screen and addressed Captain Jack. "We will withdraw our forces, Captain. But know this, the Empire does not forget and it does not forgive. This is not over. We hope for peace, Admiral," replied Captain Jack solemnly, "but we're prepared for the alternative. Safe journey home." As the remaining Imperial ships limped away, Admiral Tol stared at the Defiance through the view screen. One ship had defeated half the Imperial Armada. The implications were staggering. "Set course for the capital," he ordered quietly. "The Emperor must know immediately." As the Imperial flagship entered faster than light travel, Admiral Tol couldn't shake the feeling that everything had changed. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for millennia, based on the assumption of technological superiority. That assumption had just been shattered by a species they had dismissed as primitive just months ago. And if the humans had built one warship, how many more might they have? The thought sent a chill down his spine. The age of Imperial dominance might be ending, not through a long war, but through a single battle that exposed the fundamental flaw in their thinking. Sometimes the elegant solution wasn't the best one after all. News of the Imperial Armada's defeat spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The Imperial capital planet Zarvis Prime had never seen such chaos. In the Grand Imperial Palace, Emperor Dra faced an unprecedented crisis as representatives from dozens of species demanded emergency council sessions. "The humans defeated half your fleet with a single ship?" asked Councillor Vex of the Tulari Confederation, his antennae twitching with disbelief. "The same humans you classified as primitive just months ago." Emperor Dra sat heavily on his throne, his once bright patterns now dim with stress. "The reports are accurate. Their technology followed different development paths than ours. We underestimated them." The council chamber erupted in shouting. Some demanded all-out war against Earth. Others called for negotiation. A few were already discussing how to align themselves with the humans for protection against Imperial retribution. "Silence," roared Emperor Dra, rising to his full height. "We are the Galactic Empire. We have ruled for 10,000 years. We will not be undone by one setback." As the chamber quieted, the door slid open. All heads turned to see Captain Ven enter with an urgent message. "Emperor," he said, bowing quickly, "our long-range sensors have detected multiple ships entering our space. They match the Defiance's energy signature." "How many?" asked Admiral Tol, his scales now a sickly yellow-gray. Captain Ven's cybernetic eye whirred as he projected data onto the main screen. 17 vessels, Emperor, all apparently of human design." Heavy silence fell over the council chamber. After witnessing what one ship could do, the thought of facing 17 was terrifying. "They're arranging themselves in a defensive formation around key trade routes," Captain Ven continued. "But they're allowing all ships to pass freely. They appear to be simply observing." "A blockade," suggested Councillor Vex. "No," replied Captain Ven. "They're requesting communication. Captain Jack wishes to speak directly to the council." Emperor Dra nodded grimly. "Put him through." The main screen flickered and Captain Jack appeared, now wearing a more formal uniform with simple insignia. "Emperor Dra, honored council members," he began politely. "I hope our ship's presence hasn't caused undue alarm. They're under strict orders to maintain position and take no hostile action unless provoked." "You deploy warships throughout our territory and claim peaceful intentions?" hissed Admiral Tol. "This is an act of war." Captain Jack remained calm. Actually, Admiral, we consider it necessary protection for our diplomatic team. Your attack on the Defiance made it clear that some elements of your empire prefer force to negotiation. What do you want, human? Emperor Dra asked directly, silencing Admiral Tol with a glare. The same thing we've wanted from the beginning, replied Captain Jack. Peaceful coexistence. Earth has no desire for conquest or subjugation, but neither will we be subjugated. Your terms? Asked Emperor Dra, surprising everyone with his directness. Captain Jack seemed pleased by the Emperor's practicality. Recognition of Earth and its colonies as a sovereign entity. Non-aggression agreements. Fair trade. And, he paused, looking directly at Emperor Dra, an end to the Empire's policy of forced assimilation, not just for humans, but for all species. The Council erupted again. What Captain Jack was proposing would fundamentally change the Empire's expansion model that had existed for millennia. Impossible, shouted several counselors. Emperor Dra raised a hand for silence. You ask too much, human. The Empire's methods have maintained peace and order for 10,000 years. Have they? Countered Captain Jack. Or have they simply suppressed resistance through overwhelming force? Force that, as we've demonstrated, is no longer overwhelming. As if on cue, the screen split to show feeds from the 17 human ships positioned throughout Imperial space. Each one looked slightly different from the Defiance, some larger, some smaller, but all sharing the same blocky, overbuilt design. Each of these ships is specialized, Captain Jack explained. Some for defense, others for support, others for combat. Together, they form the first human interstellar fleet, a small demonstration of what we can build when necessary. Emperor Dra understood the implicit threat. The Empire had always relied on its technological advantage to maintain control. If humans could build ships that rendered Imperial weapons ineffective, everything changed. And if we refuse your terms? He asked quietly. Then we'll defend ourselves, replied Captain Jack simply. But we hope it won't come to that. We're offering partnership, not surrender. The Emperor studied the human captain thoughtfully. You could have attacked when our fleet retreated. You held the advantage. Why didn't you? Captain Jack's expression softened slightly. Because that's not who we are, Emperor. Humans have fought countless wars among ourselves throughout our history. We've learned the hard way that victory through destruction only leads to more conflict. He gestured to someone off screen, and Dr. Anna stepped into view. We've prepared a proposal for a new kind of galactic alliance, she said. Not an empire ruled by one species, but a confederation of equals, each contributing their unique perspectives and technologies. Data began streaming to the Imperial systems, detailed plans for a restructured galactic government, trade agreements, technological exchange protocols, and more. We've studied your history, Dr. Anna continued. Your empire began as a force for stability after the Chaos Wars. You brought order to a fractured galaxy. But systems must evolve or they stagnate and eventually collapse. Emperor Dra was silent for a long moment, processing. In his 10,000 years of rule, no species had ever approached the Empire as equals. They had always been conquered or submitted willingly. This was unprecedented. Your proposal will require consideration, he finally said. The Empire does not change course quickly. We understand, replied Captain Jack. Our fleet will maintain position as a goodwill gesture, but will take no hostile action. Our diplomatic team remains available for further discussions. After the transmission ended, the council chamber remained silent. For the first time in living memory, the Empire faced a species it could not simply overwhelm with superior technology or numbers. Could we defeat them in an all-out war? Emperor Dra asked Admiral Tol privately after dismissing the council. Admiral Tol's scales flickered with uncertainty. Perhaps, Emperor, but the cost would be immense. And if there are more human ships under construction? Asked Captain Venn, who had remained behind. There are. Our intelligence suggests their production facilities are operating at full capacity. They're building more ships even as we speak. Emperor Dra moved to the window overlooking the capital city. For 10 millennia, the Empire had represented the pinnacle of galactic civilization. Its technology was unmatched, its military undefeated. Now a species they had dismissed as primitive had fundamentally challenged that order. Perhaps, he said slowly, it is time for the Empire to evolve. Admiral Tol looked shocked. Emperor, you can't seriously consider their proposal? Can't I? Emperor Dra turned to face his most trusted advisor. Our defeat wasn't just military, Admiral. It was philosophical. We believed our technological path was the only valid one. The humans proved otherwise. What other assumptions might we be wrong about? Captain Venn stepped forward. The humans' approach to technology is fascinating, Emperor. Different but effective. If we could learn from each other rather than fight. The Emperor nodded thoughtfully. Prepare a response to the humans. We will negotiate. As word spread throughout the galaxy that the mighty Empire was negotiating with humans as equals, other species began to reconsider their place in the galactic order. Some reached out to Earth directly, seeking alliances and trade agreements. Others began demanding similar treatment from the Empire. A new era was beginning, not through conquest or submission, but through the recognition that different paths could lead to similar destinations. And sometimes the most elegant solution wasn't always the best one. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Jack received the Emperor's response and smiled. Phase 1 was complete. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by becoming like other species, but by remaining uniquely human, innovative, adaptive, and endlessly resourceful. The real work was just beginning.